Hello everyone, welcome to episode 11 of our mega surf kayak build here on the Composites Shop. I'm standing here on the bridge deck of my 40-foot catamaran project. This is a liverboard, 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom composite catamaran I'm building myself here on the south coast of New South Wales, Australia. Now you can see behind me here I've got the 2 engine modules there that are actually going to house my 57 Yanmar diesel engines. These are beautiful brand new engines, and hopefully they're going to propel us across the ocean. But for now, the surf kayak is going to be completed in this issue, and that'll put an end to this part of the series. Very important that you like the video and you comment and subscribe to the channel. Very, very important, because I've got a lot more projects on the way here, and I've already filmed quite a bit to keep the channel going. So there's plenty of information there in fiberglass, composite laminates and the like. So don't forget to zip over to Life on the Hulls, check out that channel. But let's get into it. Let's get straight down to business and finish this surf kayak and put it to bed. Thanks for joining me, guys. Let's do it. All right, these thigh braces, these molded thigh braces that I made a few weeks ago for this boat. I always try to make a few extra parts because I sell these individually to those that have these boats. If they break them, lose them, want to change them over. They have a pretty rough edge on them here. I use this little belt sander I've got here, this what you call a home handyman type linisher or belt sander, and it works a treat. It's just perfect because I've got a lot of control. And I just take the rough edge off it, and then I'll take it outside with some wet and dry, and I'll give it a wet and dry sandpaper, and I'll give it a nice rounded edge. This part here is actually engaged in the surfer's leg, so we do want to make sure there's no sharp edges on it. I then actually apply some foam underneath it so that there's really good padding underneath here, and that's going to be bolted up under that combing rim. So I'm going to give this a good clean up now, and then we'll get to fitting them into the boat. So it's only a very rough clean-up. That's enough to get the edge off it, just to get it smooth. The rest has to be done by hand. It's a little bit too aggressive, this thing. So I've now given these thigh braces a nice clean-up. They're nice and soft and smooth. And once I've installed it, I'm going to give it a quick run over with some wet and dry, sort of 800 grit, just to soften it up and give it a really nice edge, and no chance of ever cutting himself off on this thigh brace. Now, the way these fit, that flat spot there actually mounts up under this small ledge on the combing here, and basically that is bolted there with 2 stainless bolts through and into the cavity inside here with a couple of nylock nuts. Now the problem is with this fiberglass and fiberglass will cause a creaking noise. And if anyone's ever been on a boat that has loose floors, there's nothing worse than a same deal when you're out for a nice comfortable paddle, and you know, it's all beautiful in the environment, and the sun's coming up and all of that, and the last thing is got this every time you move your leg or fidget or try to catch a wave. So what I did is I came up with the idea to use double-sided tape. That's actually a self-adhesive double-sided tape. I put a small amount on here, and that enables me to position it while I'm drilling it, firstly, and secondly, it allows for a bit of suspension in between the thigh brace and the boat itself, enough just to stop it from creaking, and that can be pretty frustrating when you're having a nice quiet day out on the water. So I'm going to fit this onto the top. I need to sand the top of this for this double-sided tape to really take effect, and then I'm going to mount this into the boat. Right, so it's important to note that I use these bonded washers. I use them all the way through the boats whenever I'm going to penetrate the hull. They also, once again, provide a small amount of absorption especially on a thigh brace or somewhere where you're actually moving it all the time, and there's a good chance it's going to squeak and rattle and chip and all of that sort of thing. So by using them on here, I'm getting a nice soft finish onto the gel coat. Plus I'm also circumventing any water possibility of entering inside the kayak. But I'll just draw it down a bit, and we can mount this one. And up underneath we're going to place a quarter nylock nut, and that way there's no chance of it ever unwinding while he's out on the water. So they're now fitted in place, and now I can put some foam underlay underneath those thigh braces and get them finished. Firstly, I'm going to drill a couple of holes in here for the backrest mounts and give it a good clean up, and then I'm pretty much ready to start finishing and installing the seat, and this boat will be done. So I've been doing a lot of glassing and bits and pieces inside this boat, and if I were to run my hand in here, even with the care that I've taken by making sure that I've peel applied any joins or overlaps, there's going to be a couple of little fiberglass shards there. So what I do is I get a piece of 60 grit sandpaper and I'll run it along the internal seams on both sides to make sure there's no way that we're going to get any catching of skin or feet or ankles or knees or anything like that, to make sure that it's a nice smooth finish inside. Before I do my final wax layer inside, I'm going to do a really light coat of resin with a wax on it just to finish it. We are nearing the end of this boat. I've still got to install a seat and some foot blocks that I have to shape with a jigsaw, some foam foot blocks that I physically shaped up into the bow there for the owner to rest his feet against, obviously, but the seat and back band have to go in. But first I'm going to give it a polish. I use a fine cut polish because it's a new gel coat surface, and it's important when you apply polish, you apply it with a damp rag. You don't go scrubbing it on with a cotton applicator or anything, and you could actually damage the surface you've been working hard to look after. But for now, I just put a little bit on all over the boat. Now, one thing that's important too is because I'm going to glue a seat into this boat, I put that towel back in there to make sure no wax from this polish actually ends up in on the carbon inside. I want a pretty much a nice surface in there so that it's not going to affect the adhesion of the seat. And pretty much once you've got a bit of polish all over the hull, all over the deck and on the coaming, I'm going to go to town for about 5 minutes on my polisher. So it's always a good part of the day when I get to put the branding on these boats. These are vinyl lettering, and essentially they are black with a white outline. It's a vinyl cutting machine and a sign writing machine, and you know, you can get something like this pretty reasonably priced these days just on eBay. All you need to do is make sure you provide the vectored artwork, and anyone with a sign writing machine or a vinyl cutter can do it, your labels for you to make your product just pop, you know. So pretty much it's going to be mounted here on the deck, as I do with all of them. Now, the important thing is that this has had a polish. So this has had 2 polishes, one with a fine cut, and then I've used an extra fine cut just to give this beautiful luster. The problem with that is, if I go to stick this on now, nothing's going to stick to this, so I then need to give this a quick wipe with denatured alcohol again, just to remove any polish residue, and then I'll give it a wipe with a dry rag, and then I'm ready to install this in place. I think everyone's pretty used to putting these sorts of things on. You've got to find your center point. You've got to be very, very careful when you peel these away that you don't remove the transfer, particularly if it's got fine writing. And then I'll find my position, and I'll do half first. So I'll find the exact center line again. And then I like to work, I often use like a squeegee or something, or a credit card, but I like to work from one side to the other. That way I'm moving air this way, and then I'll simply keep working across. And you can put this on with moisture, and you can put some water and detergent and then slide it around, but I always find it better if I just put it in place like so. It's all nice and straight and level, and then you'll take it and always pull nice and close to the product. Don't lift it up, because there's a good chance you might lift your product up, lift your sticker up, and there we are. I'm going to reveal our branding, Mega Surf Kayaks Australia. How good does that look? Okay, so one of the last things you need to do is to fit our seat and backrest. Now, in Australia here we use these foam seats. They're actually ultra light, and they're very supportive. They also have a hip pad. I think it was originally branded as a Happy Bum seat. This one here is super light. It looks professional. The only problem is it needs to be glued in. And the other thing is because it's a surf kayak, we like the paddler to sit a little bit higher than they would otherwise. We don't want their bum sitting on the bottom, because it actually makes it harder for them to heel the kayak. Imagine here's the kayak and here's my center of effort up here. Is too high to engage the rail, which is this sharp edge on the kayak here, into the waves. So by raising the seat a good 3/4 of an inch, we can actually increase their heeling moment, so that when they lean, we're actually increasing that heeling moment and engaging this rail a lot more readily than they would if they were sitting down on the floor. So we don't want their ballast right in the bottom of the boat. We want it a good inch or so above the floor line of the boat. So to increase the height, rather than just gluing this straight down onto the floor, we cut these two pads. Now these pads here basically are shaped, so they're actually added to the seat here like so, with a gap in between. And the reason why we have a gap in the middle of the seat here is so that any water and debris and sand and everything can still channel back and forth through the bottom of the boat. It actually reduces the chance of the seat delaminating. And the other thing too is it makes it very easy to wash out. You can stick a hose in there and flush the water through and clean the boat out quite easily. Then I'll apply the sealant all over the surface of the seat. And once we've got the risers in place, I'll then put the seat in sideways and turn it. So I've worked out where the exact position is. I'll then get a pencil and I'll try to mark along the line of the riser, not the seat. I'll lift it, turn it, and remove it. I can see my positions here where I need the seat, but I wouldn't be putting the glue on here. That'd just be a waste. I'm going to put it on the actual seat bottom, and then I'm going to place it in place. All right, so by doing this, I'm getting it nice and neat. I just have to make sure I put it in exactly the right position. It's very important we put this in sideways first, and I don't want to touch anything as I go in. So get it into this level, then turn it. And then I have to find the position almost straight off, which is right there. Just make sure it's centered. A couple of final things we need to do to finish this boat. We need to install the seat. I use these Harmony white water back bands we buy from Confluence Water Sports. These will fit pretty much any of the white water boats, but they're brilliant for a surf kayak. And the good thing is they come with these Fastex release straps on the back that make it really easy to tension. So you can buy these for any kayak worldwide, and they do sell it commercially as a separate product. It has these small webbing buckles here that I glue into I actually screw into these mounts here, into the holes that I drilled earlier. Okay, so I'm now at the end of this kayak. I'm pretty bloody happy with it. It's absolutely perfect. I just got a call from my courier. It's going 5,000 kilometers to Perth tomorrow morning, so I need to get it finished. One thing I always do right at the very end, because I've left the resin, I've used a laminating resin for the hull, it's not quite finished. I can still glass onto that layer within there without actually having to sand it or anything, because I've used an unwaxed resin. So the final thing for me now is to get some resin with a little bit of waxing styrene in it, like I've used with a flow coat, and just put a very light layer over the top. And how I do that is just simply with a brush, and I'll put that tiny little layer over the top just to seal it, just like gel coat. Same deal with laminating resin. I'm getting that beautiful waxy finish inside, giving me that nice clear look on the carbon. What I'm going to give the guy, Des, that's bought this boat, is a beautiful glossy finish on the inside here, and simply a small amount of resin. It doesn't take much. We're only talking about 100 mils of resin, laminating resin with some waxing styrene mixed into it, is going to yield a beautiful, beautiful smooth finish inside the kayak here, and it finishes the product off immensely by giving him this beautiful sort of higher, slightly higher build on the carbon, and it really sets the carbon off. So yeah, this is an absolutely gorgeous boat. I'm very proud of my product, and you know, it's going to give him years of service. I've had these surf kayaks that are 10, 15 years old, still as good as the day they were bought, or the day I made them, purely because of all these little amounts of detail that I'm adding to these kayaks. It really is all about making a concerted effort at every stage to ensure that you end up with a product that A, you're proud of, and B, is going to provide incredible value for the user, and for the end product to be just something that I can walk away from and say, hey, I built that, and I'm pretty damn happy with this one. So if you like this episode, don't forget to give it a like. Please subscribe away. And, there's going to be a new project starting up on the Composite Shop soon. I'm pretty excited about it. I'd like you to come and join me next time. Thanks for joining me on the Composite Shop.